Now far be it for me to be in anybody's business, because I hate when people are in my business. But to the ladies that sat by and stood by and watched as that lady was carried out of that town hall in Idaho, I got all the smoke for you. Because see, you're the problem. You all got all the mouth for customer service workers, waitresses, flight attendants. But when it comes down to it, you're scary. And that's the problem. No sisterhood, no community. There's no way in the world that men would have carried a sister out of there, not law enforcement, without it being a thing. We would have put that whole thing up in smoke. Do you hear me? We would have left there with your granddaddy's eye, your grandmama's wig. Do you hear me? We are setting everything ablaze because there's no reason for it. And the lady was a doctor simply saying that women are dying. You all can't even stand up for your own people. What is the problem? What is the problem? Do you hate yourself and everybody outside of that? This is not a political party situation. This is about silencing people at a town hall. They had no right to do that. And the next time I see one of you all out, if I even get an inkling in my spirit that you're just like the women that sat and clapped and laughed and giggled and point, I'm going to go ahead and push you down. I'm going to hit them with the Heisman, stiff arm you. Because what you going to do about it? Nothing. All right, now back to my business.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vehicles, ICE agents' vehicles here behind Target.
In Alhambra, members of the community patrols from longtime community immigrants' rights organization, Unión del Barrio, posting themselves targeting what they say was one of 2 immigration enforcement actions early this morning.
Our people had megaphones, and they called for backup of other of our folks, and they both went to those locations.
Leave our neighborhood! Get out! Migra afuera! Get out! Immigration! Get out! It's not welcome here!
We are super happy to report that once the agents saw that they were being recorded and that the people were alerting the community with the megaphone, nobody was taken. And those ICE agents, they retreated and they left the community.
No comment from anyone in the vehicles seen leaving.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 agents.
ICE not speaking to the specific incident other than to say it was not a raid or sweep, but, quote, based on intelligence-driven leads, and ICE officers do not target non-citizens indiscriminately, referring us to other recent arrests of undocumented immigrants like this 47-year-old woman in Pomona they say was convicted of DUIs in San Bernardino, and a 40-year-old in Vista arrested for alleged DUI.
You are not welcome here!
Unión del Barrio activists saying they are committed to continue doing this.
It's a lie that they're only looking for people who are criminals. They're going to places anywhere and everywhere where brown people are. That's what they're looking for. We're the target.
In 1941, a small African-American community thrived in the shadow of the Pentagon in Arlington. It was known as Queen City. Its existence would end in 1942 when it was demolished to make room for the Pentagon's transportation corridor. But more than 80 years later, the story of this special community lives on.
We weren't that many, maybe probably not even 100 years out of slavery when this neighborhood first began to grow.
Queen City in 1940 was home to just over 900 people, and those who lived there were proud of the community they created.
This was another neighborhood. People were trying to live the American dream, but they had their own barbershops, stores, church.
And during a time of Jim Crow, it was home to Arlington's first all-black fire station. But in 1942, the government, using eminent domain, demolished the town to create more roads into the Pentagon.
Imagine waking up one morning for your coffee and there's a bulldozer next door.
Now, amid the construction today where Columbia Pike meets the Pentagon, no signs of the town remain, but Taylor is telling its story.
People need to know some of the struggles that some of these people went through to make Arlington the beautiful, thriving county it is today.
Even what is American food, but if you think about that, it's the influence from the Africans. That's what, you know,
and other communities,
other communities, but it is the influence from that. But because they want to separate themselves so much from that, where do you think this shit comes
and I think
from?
there's a misunderstanding to what they don't understand that they don't understand that we have our own version of soul food. That, and though we call it, we might say it's African food or Nigerian food, Ghanaian food, Caribbean food, Canadian food, and traditional dishes. We have soul food over here. Soul food isn't exclusive to Americans. We just don't call it soul
different.
food. But again, it's about education. If you haven't had these conversations, you're going to ask these questions.
Can you you tell us what your message is to these senators while we're walking?
I think it's really cruel to fire people for poor performance when they've only had great feedback. We've never had an issue with our performance, and we're doing work for the American public. We're here for safety, and we're patriots. We love our country. That's why we're taking these jobs that don't pay us in the private sector. I'm an accountant. I could get a private sector job tomorrow, but
So you're telling me that if I buy a house 30 years ago at $50,000, but the city develops really well and now the value of my house is at $2 million, you're telling me that I have to now pay taxes on $2 million, even though I have never seen a dime of that $2 million? I have not sold my house. This is not an investment property. This is where I live, and I chose to live, and I hoped to live for the rest of my life. But now you're telling me that I either have to sell my house or lose my house because I can't afford to pay taxes. And the taxes are probably more than what my mortgage was 30 years ago. You're telling me that if I give this house as an inheritance as a senior to my children and I pass away, they will either have to pay those property taxes for the rest of their lives, or they risk losing the house that I have worked so hard for all this time. Property taxes is a scam. And I understand that it pays for education and it pays for teacher salaries, but I think we need to find another way because homeowners are losing their homes every single day. If you look in the tax lien website in your state, you're going to see how many people are losing their homes. They probably paid those homes off. They probably have paid the majority of their mortgage, but they can no longer afford to pay taxes. And their mortgages go up. And if they have already paid it, now they have to pay this for the rest of their life. Or they risk losing their home to some investor that is going to buy your house for whatever the tax amount was that you couldn't afford, but they can. We need to start fighting against property taxes. It needs to either be regulated to stop going up as much, or it needs to be stopped altogether. We're paying we're paying enough money for our education. Like, there is a leak somewhere. This is too much. If everybody here owns their home, and you don't have enough money to pay for the teachers' salaries and the education, then there's something wrong in the government, and we need to fix it.
I would have rather talked about the fact of Africans trying to claim soul food, but I have to talk about this because I have to remind people that for the longest time possible within the Black community, this has been a prevalent issue, and an issue that a lot of people don't want to face, a lot of people don't want to talk about. And whenever I've specifically talked about it directly on this platform, I've either had one or two responses. Either A, Black men that have issues with Black women, they'll pull up to the scene when I happen to showcase a video and they'll say XYZ. Number two, Black women will pull up to the scene when I happen to do the reverse videos and then they will state XYZ. And then there's option three, which rarely happens, where both parties come directly on the same video where I've showcased the exact same nonsense from both Black men and Black women for them to leave comments. Again, I've done quite a few of those videos, and the responses that I get are nowhere in comparison to just a single video talking about that topic. It's crazy. And as I've stated before, the main issue is that you have these groups here that don't like the Black community. But the problem is, you have to ask yourself, which groups am I talking about? Which ones? Am I talking about the white folks or am I talking about the Black folks? Which one am I actually talking about? That's the problem. And realistically, it shouldn't even really be a question, but yet it is, because as you can clearly see in one of the images, if you can blow it up on your television or whatever it is that you're watching, I found out that the guy who passed by way of his significant other, who was a white woman, he went directly after both sides of the community, right? Number one, he just said he would not sleep with a Black woman, and he would rather sleep with a dog, but the dog specifically has to be white. Right. And then underneath that, he has another comment where he stated, I don't fight white boys no more, but I will beat the mess out of a Black dude. Crazy word. So not only did you sit up there and just talk oh so reckless and greasy when it dealt with black women, but you decided to open your mouth and just for whatever reason decide to say that. You're not going to say it to whoever it is specifically that you're talking about. You're just going to, in a sense, make a open invitation for all intents and purposes. That's crazy work. That is 100% crazy work. Mm, 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 mm. That's why I tell people you got to be very, very careful of the things that you decide that you want to say about people, because lo and behold, the moment in time that you need these people to help you, they ain't gonna be nowhere to be found. Right? So then you got the black woman in the same picture to the, I'm trying to do this by memory, it should be to the right side. Right? Her name is Lauren Smith Fields, right? They said that Smith Fields was age 23 and on a date with Bumble date Matthew LaFontaine. At the time of her death, he found her unresponsive at around 6 a.m., immediately calling 911. He started chest compressions as advertised by the operator. These efforts would prove to be unsuccessful, and she was pronounced deceased at the scene. First responders noted that her date seemed shaken up and in a state of shock, although there is skepticism surrounding her deceasement. She was ultimately ruled an accidental OD by cause of narcotics and alcohol mix. Going off the charts. But if you pay very close attention to the middle, she did the exact same thing the younger fellow did, right? Lauren Smith Fields decided to repost a tweet from somebody else. She was like, "This is me." And you can see the tweet. It says, "When I start dating white men, just know I tried my hardest with you coloreds." Diabolical work. Diabolical work. You tried, right? You tried so much. And you lost your hands. I'm sorry, not hands. You lost your life at the hands of somebody that you felt was better. Actually, both parties did. Because both parties have issues with the black community. I'm just going to be real. There's no other way I can, in a sense, showcase this and put this directly to the forefront. And as I stated to people before, you're only going to hear my mouth when I happen to hear you deciding that you want to disrespect the black community. The moment in time that you want to come directly out of the side of your mouth and you got the perfect person, you got your white knight or your white queen, and you know you're living a good life, but for some odd reason up there on Mount Olympus, up there above the skies with all the white lights, somehow, some way, you find your way back down here to us. And you want to open your mouth. Instead of being up there with your gods, worshiping, kissing feet, do whatever it is y'all like to do, you want to sit up there and start talking about the mere mortals for no reason. You've ascended to godhood, but yet you want to come back down here and you want to buddy, shoulder to shoulder, you want to run your mouth, and that makes no sense. Talk about the gods. Talk about those folks. Talk about the things that you are now around. Those are now your family. Those are now your friends. That is now your community, your culture. Leave us directly up out of it. That's what pretty much everybody in the black community states whenever these things happen to take place. It's like, yo, go over there and live your life, do whatever it is that you want to do. But at the end of the day, just, leave us alone. Just let us be. Just let us be. That's it. But again, y'all can't seem to do that. That's a little bit weird. That's a little bit odd. I don't know why it's like that. I don't know who decided within whatever hierarchy that they have over there that this is just going to be the thing for them to do. Because realistically, you shouldn't be bored. You should be taking trips to New Zealand, the Netherlands, Australia, right? You should be going all over Europe. That's realistically where you should be, but you're not. That's the culture that you should be deep diving in, but you're not. Those are the people that you really should be amongst for the rest of your life, but you're not. And those are the only people that you should realistically be speaking on, but you know you won't. So yet here we are with two examples of people, of groups that don't like the black community, always got their mouth open, wanting to sit up there and say something negative as soon as they feel that they are shoulder to shoulder or right there next to their God. And this is what happens when you worship so much You give all of your blind faith and all of your love and everything to the gods that you worship, and those gods will show you exactly how it is that they see and deem you. And I want you to understand, out of both of these circumstances and stories, 2 people lost their lives and 2 people survived. What's also pretty common that people have to acknowledge is the color of the people that survived and the color of the people who didn't. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about this video and everything that I stated in the comment description below. And as always, peace, love, and stay tuned for the next video.